It is testament to Jurgen Klopp and this Liverpool team right now that every game they finish, win, lose or draw, I have almost a whole team to evaluate. I have every player within that side giving almost every point of analysis that I would want, and also pleasurable analysis. Not even someone who I can pick at within this side, though we will try and do some of that in this video. Welcome back to Laurence McKenna channel. It's post-international break. There was a worry that Liverpool would have a derby, start the weekend early for the however manyth time. I think it's like the 14th time in the past year that Liverpool have had the 12:30. Are we box office? Yes. Are we the team that a lot of people want to watch? Yes. Is that why we are on at 12:30? I don't know. I'm still trying to work it out, really. But overall, that Liverpool performance sums up a lot of what is good and kind of progressing at Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool this season. After a weird international break, which felt like it went on for absolutely ever, and Liverpool had a number of good players go away and, basically put in pretty decent performances. You see people in that side, like Darwin Núñez, scoring a header. You see people like Szoboszlai scoring that penalty. McAllister's flying back. Trent's gone around and bossed him midfield in one game, which wasn't really a consequential one, but you still get the point. Liverpool came back and they could have been forgiven for being tired. They could have been forgiven for being groggy. The expectation was they would almost be that because that is what happens after so many international breaks. But thankfully, Everton are permanently groggy right now. And that is why when you have game changers like Darwin Núñez, genuinely, remember when Darwin Núñez first came in at Liverpool? He looked like this. He looked so different. He was basically a whole other player. And I've got to admit, at the time, there were quite a few people, along with me, who were going, what is he? Where does he fit? How are they going to coach him? But Jurgen Klopp saw something in this young kid. Jurgen Klopp and his coaching staff and, Virgil van Dijk and lots of other Liverpool players had seen something in Darwin Núñez, which has since come out, which is still coming out, which isn't even halfway out. You feel like he's still at the beginning of so much of his potential. And yet, here he is, providing a goal or an assist every 62 minutes out on the field for Liverpool and doing something special in that process. I think what a lot of people when he first came in thought, hey, Liverpool have got an out-and-out goal scorer, a number 9 there, who's not really going to do much outside of that. He did look quite one-dimensional, looked extremely right-footed. He looked like a kind of player who at the time was panicking on the ball. But look at that counter-attack that Liverpool have now. Look at what being around Mo Salah, Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, Jota even, and a number of other great players that Firmino towards the end of last season has done for him. It's made him calmer, it's improved his vision, it's made him into the kind of player that you want to start a game. Remember when he first came in, there wasn't really this clamour for him to start, not necessarily because he was a bad player, but just because it was like, what are we when he's in the side? And even now, I think, there's a lot more analysis on it and it's quite clear the positions he gets into, but the range of what he does, the range of what this front line is capable of and what scares the back line of any opposition just, is so wide. I don't want to say it multiplies because I feel like Liverpool have got a team of multipliers. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about here. Like Núñez multiplies Salah, multiplies Diaz, multiplies the people immediately behind him, be that Gravenberch or Szoboszlai or McAllister or Trent or Harvey Elliott. All these people are having a multiplying effect on the other people in the side right now to make this Liverpool team seem way bigger than they are. And that is something new for this Jurgen Klopp side in this form, but something that evokes the original Klopp memory, something that evokes... Do you remember that time when it was everyone within the side under Rodgers felt like we were evaluating them as them? It wasn't necessarily Rodgers' fault, but you remember it was a team of individuals. Klopp came in and made a collective. And I think that is where, when things were beginning to break down, we began to analyse things as, oh, this Liverpool team is just a series of individuals. Mane left, Firmino left, and, Henderson was in the midfield being Henderson. Fabinho was getting singled out. Trent was getting singled out. Konate was getting singled out. Virgil van Dijk was getting singled out. Alisson was singled out for his brilliant goalkeeping performances. All of these things, even Andy Robertson has been picked out in recent weeks. We can talk about that again in a minute. But then you look at the collective, what Jurgen Klopp was aiming for, what no one else seemed to have that vision for, and we're doing the analysis. What I was wondering where it was going. I knew there was something that they were trying to achieve, but we didn't quite know what. And since when you see what Liverpool have done, the adaptability that they have, the way they read the game, the way they strangle the opposition, the way they can break, the way they can take possession, the way that Everton need to do desperate things when Liverpool get into the box that changes the game. Everton were constantly on the back foot. They had less possession than Liverpool, 23% to Liverpool's 27. They had 0.12 XG. And that's probably from the opening shot that Dominic Calvert-Lewin took at the very beginning of the game. Liverpool had 2.25 XG. So 2 goals in this game, it pretty much shows the control, the poise, the way that Liverpool have control over this. And I get it. Like, some people are going to give me in a minute this whole spiel about how, well, that wouldn't have happened if... I feel ridiculous saying this. That wouldn't have happened if Ashley Young was on the field. Let me just say that one more time. The phrase some people might say is, that wouldn't have happened if Ashley Young was on the field. Or, well, that wouldn't have happened if Ibrahim Konate had gone off. Are you joking? Did you see what Liverpool were doing in this game before this? It wasn't like they were ripping them to shreds, but I feel like the point is that everyone thinks that the only way to get a goal is to rip an opposition to threads. Shreds? Threads. One of the above. Just rip them apart is what I'm saying. But the point is, very often in this Jurgen Klopp era, it's been about the obscure ways that Liverpool can score goals. It's been about the way that Liverpool move the opposition around, and suddenly an opposition is ripped apart or moved apart, and therefore a chance presents itself. Darwin Núñez is perfect for that. Salah has become even better at that. This midfield three is incredible at moving the opposition around. You don't know at which point one of them is going to move into any different piece of space. Ryan Gravenberch is just carrying the ball forward beautifully. McAllister, who I thought wouldn't start in that, I thought Wataru Endo would start in this game because, well, I thought McAllister would be tired. I thought Endo would be the natural kind of combative player in that midfield, but Liverpool didn't really end up needing that in the end. Maybe against Onana for a couple of touches. But then you've got Szoboszlai on the other side of that. And it's this perfect balance and combination, which isn't necessarily the same as the Wijnaldum, Fabinho, Henderson combination that we used to see. It's a very different dynamic. It's a much more front foot dynamic. It's also one which is much more, it feels very balanced in a different way, mainly because we don't really have a designated 6 in there. Sometimes Gravenberch is a little bit deeper, sometimes McAllister is, sometimes Szoboszlai is doing some defensive work. Szoboszlai very often can go a little bit wider in this side to allow Salah to slip in. You saw what happened when Szoboszlai came off, and on comes someone like Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott instantly almost comes in and starts playing almost a right back, like a right wing situation. And I mean like extreme right wing situation. So he's always there, making the pitch wider, making it hard for the 10 men of Everton to even get the ball back. And that's the point here, is like, Liverpool's ability to control a game is being widened at all points because all of these players are training with each other, because they're all getting more and more information in each game. Now, beating Everton, I would argue, isn't exactly like the height of Liverpool's season, right? But what I find really interesting is, like, you can see here, Liverpool were trying to play inside on the right. They were trying to play in the half space here. This is the half space, right? This is the wide space, right? This is the space that Mo Salah operates best from, because he can get balls into the box there, he can drive into the box here, but he can also receive, more importantly, without his back to goal. Sometimes he has to drop a little bit deeper. Trent's coming into midfield here. Sometimes he has to drop a little bit deeper, and I would argue that Liverpool aren't at their best when Mo Salah's dropping in a little bit deeper and having to play away. You want him almost more centrally in this type of a scenario here. There was a time towards the end where we saw him in like a box like this, which is actually I should put that in the other formation. But the point is that, like, if you look at where Mo Salah is operating right now, it enables Liverpool's attack so well. It enables Liverpool, and basically it's these two in this situation here, making it very difficult for the opposition to break out of that area. Konate is just always covering this whole area, hence why at one point there was this opportunity for him to get a yellow card. We can talk about that in a second. But the balance in this midfield, the frank nature of the idea that literally you could put Alexander-Arnold in right back, in midfield, he was playing at almost like a 10 type position at one point. Let me just bring up a little bit of what would I use for that. He was playing like in this kind of an area early on. That's not bright enough for you guys. He was playing like in that kind of area early on. Maybe more like there, and that was pushing Salah on a little bit, and then you had Jota coming into the box. I mean, Jota was actually a lot deeper today. Jota was much more here than he was here. And then you had Diaz kind of coming in there. I think Diaz had at least 2, maybe 3 penalty shouts in this game that weren't given. But what we're seeing in this game, what I want to shout out just for a second is, I think people underestimate how good Andy Robertson is. I'm not saying Tsimikas had a bad game. I actually think Tsimikas had a pretty good game. But you can see as Liverpool tried to lock the ball down, they basically transitioned to more of a 4-3-3, but they still have this central spine here and this other passing ladder there and a third kind of passing ladder there. Basically what they do is then switch between these ladders as they go, and you can see that that's where a Tsimikas wouldn't necessarily fit, where Andy Robertson does fit quite well. Tsimikas is much more of someone who wants to bomb on down this side. I'll bring it up. Yeah, bring it up here, right? He wants to bomb on here and put crosses in here, right? Andy Robertson is fantastic at that, but also if you look at what Joe Gomez did when he came on, he was trying to get forward, but he was also offering a bit of support here to Virgil van Dijk. But what he was also doing was basically just enabling what Jota needed to do, giving people little options in this kind of an area here, but also at the same time as that, basically saying that I'm going to be a solid defensive physical option, which is what Tsimikas isn't. Now, it's not to say Andy Robertson will be out for a while, so Liverpool will have to deal with this in the long run, and Tsimikas and Gomez will probably swap throughout games, right? Maybe Joe Gomez starts on sometimes, and this is kind of what some people call a Pep Guardiola move at this point, where it's basically like, hey, you're playing a centre-back in that position, that's Guardiola. It kind of works at this point, basically because centre-backs are so mobile, they are at this point so different to the modern kind of bombing on fullback that is Andy Robertson. But I think what people are now doing is finding the appreciation for Andy Robertson and what he brings to a team, right? Now, obviously, we have to thank Ashley Young because he absolutely messed up. I want to talk about the differences between this guy's yellow cards and this guy's yellow cards. Now, imagine in a referee's mind that he has a count of 5, should we say. It might even work better as a 3 because it'll make it even simpler. A count of 3. Right? So 3 strikes and you're out, essentially. If you have 1 strike, but it's more like 1.5, almost 2 strikes in 1, which doesn't get you to the 3, but does get you to a point where you're like, okay, 1 more card, and really this is making my life difficult as a referee not to give you a yellow. That's where Ashley Young was. Ashley Young committed in pretty quick succession 2 pretty difficult not to give yellow card fouls on. Konate, I think, on the opposite side of that, committed 1, I would say, light yellow, clearly no intent involved, clearly also not really stopping, not a broadly important counter-attacking opportunity, though with Everton that's pretty much all they had in this game, so maybe he was stopping that one time they might have got a goal. But what he did the first time was basically stop the opportunity of a counter-attack, and the second time it kind of felt even lighter than that. I would say that what Ashley Young did was go through all three levels. And it was very quick. It was a 2 and a 2. And that pushes you to 2 yellow cards. I would say both of the yellow cards for Konate are a 1 and a 1, not adding up to 3. I don't know if that makes enough sense for you guys, but Ashley Young is also one of those players who's, because of the way he moves, because he's so aggressive, because he is often playing on that kind of, I need to prove that I am defending here, it makes him, also because very often he struggles to keep up with the opposition, so he has to look like he's on the front foot, it makes him look more aggressive than he actually probably is being. Though he is a good leader in the side, and he is an ex-United player, and he is in great shape for his age, and he is probably still very serviceable in the Premier League, realistically, are we really going to give him that much credit for being Ashley Young? This guy is a Rolls Royce. Ashley Young's been very good in his career. Not a Rolls Royce, but very good. This guy always looks like he's in control, always looks like because he's got so much energy, because he's always bounding around, because he's always in a good position, because he's always being Konate. I think his presence and his demeanour also just make it a different game for Liverpool and a different game for the referees when trying to give him a card. I'm not saying that you shouldn't give cards for the same actions, but you get my point. Like the feeling, what's going on, impacts the referee. I'll just go back to this for a second. I don't even have a point to make about it. I just want to underline the difference and the dominance that Liverpool showed in this game. Since Darwin Núñez has come in, I think a lot of people originally thought, okay, what does that do for Salah? Salah, can he play off him? Can he play with him? Can he play around him? You saw from the assist that he had today, you saw from what Salah gets when he's on the field, you see from the combination that Salah's looking for, you see from the instant point that Salah does, you see how good Salah is. Salah held his I guess he held his run, but I think he also held his, just sometimes there's times where you think, he could be streaming away here. I think there are times where he looks to combine more with someone like a Darwin Nunez than he did with some other players, on the counter-attack at least. I think in the past, Firmino was an incredible combination player, and Salah needs and loves players to combine with. He's always loved playing off a man. He's got that in Cody Gakpo, he's got that in Nunez, he's got that in whoever else Liverpool has got in that front line. But he's probably got it more than he's got it with Jota, if that makes sense. So I love that combination of the two. And I'm going to finish on this. I think Salah was fantastic. Again, I think Salah is always fantastic. I think Salah's been prolific this season. And in this new system, he's looked like a brand new or an even kind of old school Mo Salah when he was just absolutely fantastic. He looked a little muted, it's fair to say, against Everton, because I think there were times where Everton just knew what to do with it. They knew if you stand off him just enough, you go to him just enough, and they kind of know how to deal with a Mo Salah sometimes. Sometimes there are games where people know how to deal with him. But even with that, I just extols the virtues of where Liverpool's other strengths are. And Mo Salah is very happy to be that kind of magnet. The gravity that Salah has on the field makes space elsewhere. That's very much an NBA term, but the gravity that Mo Salah has pulls players towards him, gets them stuck somewhere in between the gravity of a Nunez and Salah, or Jota and Salah, or Diaz. It spreads the back line out. It's exactly what you want to do against 10 men. And Salah is one of those people, he's so careful. He's so patient, I want to say, in games. There's times where you see him laughing. You see that with Mane. Mane and Salah used to know so much. I'm just going to get another opportunity. I'm going to punish you for putting me in this situation. I'm going to do what I just did to you again and score. Salah's got that. And it gives Liverpool so many options. What's amazing about this is the chat today will be about Mo Salah. But really that team performance from Liverpool, the control, the poise, the constant strangulation of Everton is so key. So, and I've not even mentioned, Virgil van Dijk barely looked troubled today. Konate barely looked troubled. Alisson didn't really have much to do. We can say loads about Jota. I thought Jota again was fantastic. Jota is a great player. I barely mentioned him in this, but I think what he does for this Liverpool side is particularly selfless. I also think on top of that, the opportunities and the combinations he has with Diaz, with the people immediately behind him, the two players, what he enables them to do, and the amount of space that they have in that kind of I think it's like the 17 and 18 boxes on the pitch. Basically, if I come down here, I'll show you, look. What he does is in this kind of an area, he makes it really, really congested. So he's running in here. He's probably running in here. He's getting congested. He's running outside of it and running in. He's running in there as well. And it makes it impossible for anyone to try. How many players is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you do that? What you do with that is you have someone like Jota hold there, running in there, and that's why he's not in at the back post, given these opportunities. That's why there are so many different ways of attacking for this Liverpool team. Now, when Everton sit deep, I get it. There was a lot of frustration. Liverpool went wide and went in, went wide and went in, and for a while it didn't really work. I think that Diaz one was actually a penalty. Patterson was lucky, I think, to get away with that, because I think he did take his feet, and he's lucky it wasn't taken with the boot, and it was with his knee. But he did go down, he did drag him down. Maybe Diaz was a little theatrical, but I still think he took him down. Was it handball for a penalty, for the actual penalty that was given? That felt one of the lighter versions of the handball, but it was still there. And it was still handball. His hand was away from his body, etc., etc. It feels harsh. I feel like it's hard not to give us a handball. Did Everton create anything of meaning today, apart from the Dominic Calvert-Lewin thing and maybe one other shot which went 15 feet over the bar? Not really. I get it, there will want to be this whole, Liverpool, did they really put the opposition to the sword? Were they really killer enough? They came back from the international break and they got a result, and I think that's what's important today. This Liverpool side will not be the same in every game. They will be a shapeshifter. They will change, whether Wataru Endo is in the midfield, whether it's McAllister, whether it's bringing in a new player in January and an Andre or someone like that, or whether they've also got Havenberg and Soboslai laying a little bit deeper, giving this column down the middle that Liverpool try to operate with, and the same here as well. I'll be interested to see how those evolve. This side is constantly moving, constantly changing. Those they do look marginally different, but really the average positions are pretty much the same there. But you get my point. That Havenberg one, he's no longer there because Liverpool have taken control, and Harvey Elliott's over here doing a lot more and helping these two guys to basically get on here and to enable the passes and cross field balls. It's really good to chat to you guys. Hope you've enjoyed this today. I enjoy being back with the Liverpool content, and I have a little bit of news, shall we say. I'm thinking of starting just a Liverpool-focused channel. I'm not going to convert this one. I'm going to leave this one as just a football channel. But I always want to find myself wanting to talk about Liverpool. But I also, like for instance, I've got a video coming out about Naples. I've got a video coming out about lots of different things. I don't want to limit the channel to be just a Liverpool piece of content thing. I love talking about Liverpool. I love talking about the transfers. I love having a community of Liverpool fans. So I'm thinking of making a Laurence McKenna channel. Let me know in the comments below whether you guys would be down for that, what you would call it. Because I need Laurence McKenna on, but I can't just do Laurence McKenna on LFC. And I know, obviously there's so many amazing Liverpool channels right now. It's not so much I want to compete with those guys. It's just I want a place to put my content on Liverpool. So let me know in the comments below. Would you guys be down for that? Would you love to see that kind of thing or not? Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't care. But yeah, I'll see you again right here on the Laurence McKenna channel real soon. Have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Liverpool are top of the Premier League and competing with other people out there. Video about that probably coming Monday, Tuesday next week. Much love. Bye.